This is the video for 8.4 and we are talking about perfect squares. You do have to memorize this and you're going to have to trust me when I tell you how very important this is going to be for Algebra 2, for college algebra, and for your SATs. You have to memorize this. So in this first example, I have x plus 8 squared, and that's called a perfect square. So I can FOIL this out. In other words, I can set this up as x plus 8 times x plus 8, and I can FOIL that out. But again, you're going to have to trust me that that will waste time for one reason. Time is a very, very precious resource on standardized testing. But not only that, you have to be able to recognize these polynomials as perfect squares. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if right now in Algebra 1 you memorize this. So I want you to do something most math teachers never say. I want you to actually do the 8.4 homework without showing any work. You don't even have to show this step if you don't want to, and you don't even have to show this step if you don't want to, although right now at the very beginning while you're learning this I encourage you to do so. But I want you to be able to get to the point where you can come up with the answer here in one line. So these types of questions, believe it or not, should not take you more than 5 seconds. So at the very beginning, while you're learning this, they will take a little longer, but by the end of this lesson, hopefully you will be able to solve these types of questions in 5 seconds or less, because you have to be able to recognize perfect squares. So this is the rule for a perfect square. So first of all, what exactly is a perfect square? This is an example of a perfect square. So whenever you have a plus b squared, that is a perfect square. A plus b squared is always a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And again, if you go through the process of actually FOILing this out, you can see how and why this will equal this. So let's go to this example here. The first thing you have to do is you have to recognize, well, what is my A and what is my B? And eventually you'll be able to do that in your head, but right now if you need to write that out, please do so, that's fine. My A here is X and my B is 8. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do A squared, so that becomes X squared, plus 2AB, 2AB plus B squared, which is 64. And so that's my answer. Pause the video and make sure that you understand what I did here. Okay, now let's go to the next example. Again, we have a perfect square. We have 2m minus 3 squared. And you can sit there and you can FOIL this out and you can go 2m minus 3 times 2m minus 3. And then you can multiply the first terms, then you can multiply the outer terms, then you can multiply the inner terms, and then finally you can multiply the last terms, you can combine like terms, and you will get the answer. But again, that takes time, and time is something you don't have a lot of on standardized testing. And you also have to be able to recognize this very quickly as a perfect square. And you're just going to have to, again, trust me when I tell you how important this is going to be later on in math, in other courses. So what happens when we have a minus b squared? You have to memorize this. When we have a minus b squared, that is the same thing as saying a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So what's the a and what is the b? Here my a is 2m and my b is 3. Now be very careful. Your b here is not negative 3. Your b here is just 3 because the negative is already worked into the answer. So your b is just going to be 3. So how did I get the answer? A squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So again, pause the video and make sure that you understand how I got this answer. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead and hit pause and try to work this out just in one line. And here are the answers. And again, you should be able to, by the end of this homework assignment, break this out mentally in one line. But right now, if you need to write it out a little bit more than this, that's fine. If you need to actually write down the 2ab right now, that's fine. But what did I do? I said, well, I know this is negative, so I need to put the negative sign here. It's a minus. So what is this? A squared minus 2ab, 2 times 7 is 14, plus b squared, 49. Here, a squared, this is plus, so this is going to be a plus. A squared plus 2ab. 2ab becomes 4 times 9, which is 36, plus b squared. If you got that wrong, pause the video and rework that and make sure that you understand what I did. And if you need to prove it to yourself so you understand how I got this, FOIL it out. Go ahead and go through this process once. And look how 2x plus 9 times 2x plus 9, once you FOIL that out, see how that turns into this. Example number 2. Whenever you are doing word problems, draw a picture. As you read the problem, draw a picture. So always read through the problem once. It says a square mirror is placed inside a square frame. The frame has a width of 3 inches. The length of the mirror is x inches. What is the total area of the frame? So always start by just reading through the problem once and then go back, read through it again line by line and draw your picture. So a square mirror is placed inside a square frame. So I have a square mirror inside a square frame. The frame has a width of 3 inches. So the frame is 3 inches, the width. The length of the mirror is x inches. So what is the total area of the frame? Okay, so I want to figure out what the total area of the frame is. So this part right here that I've shaded. So what do I need to do? I need to figure out the total area of the entire thing, and then I need to subtract the center. Once again, I need to figure out the total area of the entire thing, and then I need to subtract the area of the mirror that's inside. And then once I do that, I will get the area of the frame. So let's first figure out what the total area of the entire thing is. So if this is 3 inches, and this is 3 inches, and this is x inches, what is the length of the whole thing? What is the length of this frame here? This is going to be x plus 6. And remember, we said this is a square. So that means this is x, this is 3, and this is 3. So that means this is also x plus 6. So what is the area of the entire thing? The area of the entire thing is x plus 6 squared. So, a squared plus 2ab, 2 times 6 is 12, plus b squared. It's a lot quicker than foiling it out. Now what do I need to do? Well, that is the area of the entire thing. What is the area of the mirror itself? The area of the mirror itself is x squared. So I need to subtract x squared. I'm taking the area of the entire thing and I'm subtracting the area of the mirror that's inside. And then what I have left is going to be the area of the frame. Go ahead and hit pause and work out this on your own problem. And here's the answer. I did the exact same thing, except now the width is 4 inches. And finally, example number 3. Again, you have to memorize this. Finding the product of a sum and a difference. So whenever you have a plus b times a minus b, that is always going to equal a squared minus b squared. And you can FOIL this out so you can see how and why this works, but you have to memorize this. So a is going to be x to the 3rd power, and b is going to be 8. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say a squared minus b squared, which is x to the 6th power, because remember, we multiply those, minus 64. So pause the video and make sure that you understand what I did. But again, you have to memorize this because you have to be able to do this mentally in one line in seconds. If you have to, as of right now, write this part out and write this part out as you're learning this, that's absolutely fine. And if you have to keep writing this out with every single problem while you're memorizing it, again, that's absolutely fine. But eventually you need to get to the point where you just look at this and can write this. And you also need to be able to go backwards, which we're going to do in another lesson. You have to be able to look at this and go back this way and just look at this. You need to be able to look at this and just identify this as that. You need to be able to go back and forth very, very quickly in just seconds, so you have to memorize this. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead and do these on your own problems. And here are the answers. If you have any questions, send me an email and you can go ahead and start your homework.